frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. For you who are trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable.
Now, oops, yep, that's the right button. Okay, give me 1 sec. Why is that not coming properly?
Ooh, we're talking about regions.
Yeah.
I don't look at the metrics anymore, I just look at the quiz.
Sorry guys, we're just quickly redoing that. So, this week's Metrons. Today's numbers. Collected data of all the decks selected in rounds and separate according to their team's regions. So we have basically 1,100 decks from Europe, half of that from the US, a third of that from Asia, and then a handful of South American decks, and 192 decks from teams that are in multiple countries. And let's see if we can see any metas in the different regions. This is really interesting. So no, is the answer. Values are very close, so we still see a few different trends. Asia is more speed and efficiency, that is true. You can see, compared to South America especially, you're seeing the speed much higher. But apart from that, USA is expected amber a little bit. Multi-regions amber control, but they're more the outliers. So the more the control factor here. But I mean, apart from the efficiency for Asia, I wouldn't really say there's a huge push. I mean, yeah, USA and America.
It's all very marginalised, very close.
Apart from the efficiency for Asia, that's the only thing that it is. So from the expansion wise, South America loves AOA. I mean, let's be fair. They possibly still haven't got mass mutation, so there's a reason why mass mutation will be lower in South America.
I'm sure they got mass mutation by this point, but they haven't got. They were quite late getting mass mutation. I mean, they didn't have it during KOTE 7, and people had to borrow a deck, so it kind of makes sense.
And Asia's mass mutation is so high, it's a surprise though. I mean, but whilst Glide being so low, should we really say for Asia? But
plus, it's not that high really. Mass mutation is kind of evened out among Europe, multi, and Asia. It's just in the US where it's kind of dropped dramatically. Same with KOTE, it's not that big of a difference. It's just
that is true.
AOA and World Glide sort of seem to be the indicators.
So looking at the houses here, I wish this was a bar chart because it'd bug me otherwise. But yeah, I don't think we see too surprising. Untamed's a little higher in South America, but that's a lot more AOA decks, so that's kind of a given.
Shadows was highest in the US, and there's 3 teams of Shadows in there's 3 teams from the US in the top 4. So yeah,
not too surprising. Logos again is higher in Asia, but again they want the efficiency improvements, so that's not surprising. I mean, South America love Mars. I think it's partially because they love AOA, and all the big AOA decks are Mars. But also, you remember, it's 86 decks in the pool for South America. So
they also brought the most amount of Untamed. I guess that's why Europe is going to be kind of well rounded out, because they brought over 1,000 decks.
Yeah. And unsurprisingly, we're seeing the Saurian and the Starlights drop because of the lack of mass mutation in South America. So look at the common cards: Niffleape, Regrowth, Niffleape. Yeah, you can possibly see the set that isn't in South America right now. 203 Niffleapes. So it's roughly the same proportion of Niffleapes in all 3, Europe, USA, and Asia. If you look at the proportion of decks.
I'm more looking at the fact that Shadows is predominant throughout all of them, apart from Asia, where it's slightly more towards Logos.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Nexus and Bad Penny, but I don't know. A Gang of Chieftain is there for the multi now, but again, it's only 192 decks, so
yeah.
I mean, you're not seeing a massive. I mean, 1 in 5 decks. The average is 1 in 5 decks that'll be on Niflate. Now we know Niflate comes in pairs normally or more.
Looking at the largest test pool, the three most common, well, three most predominant houses are Logos, Shadows, and Untamed.
I mean, I would say looking at this is, I would say Europe, USA, and Asia are roughly the same. South America, you can see, has a mass mutation limitation, and multinational is not really easy one to compare.
94 bad pennies in America and 53 in Asia.
Which makes sense because there's 300 Asia decks and 500 USA decks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's kind of, but yeah, you can see Nerve Blast being predominant throughout at least 3 of them.
Yeah.
Then you got Umbra. Yeah, you see the same sort of cards over and over. Wild Wormhole. I'm not a big fan of bringing Wild Wormhole in like a competitive setting because it gives you
Randomness.
Yes, it's the randomization of the cards that gets me.
Yeah, I mean, if we move on to the uncommons and rare cards, Grafter's heavy in the USA, whereas Mimicry and Lights Out were in Europe. Too Much Protect was again more in the USA.
Mimicry was everywhere.
Asia having 35 grafts for significantly less decks than the USA is interesting. But Mimicry being the most common uncommon in South America is interesting.
Europe and USA bringing a lot of Playgrounds. USA bringing almost double the Playgrounds with half the decks.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Fuzzy grew in there as well. The Sting being that common is a surprise, but again, but we're seeing more time travel in Asia and Europe. So it's more wolves again in South America because of the lack of mass mutation. It's really interesting. Lots of Niflkong and Graviton from the Asia decks though for rares. Yes, that's half the number of creatures unique because they're double cards, but it's still interesting.
Hypnotic Command is very interesting because Hypnotic Command is a very underrated card in due to later sets.
Yep, sure. Shall we move on to the Quizman?
Yep, already loading up.
Sorry for rapidly going through that this week, but
Yeah, I will, yes.